What is up, guys? You're listening to Sports Biz with Rashad. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming back and listening to today's episode. I am super excited because I'm having my first guest actually on the podcast today. I'm bringing back my old friend from high school. Her name is Haley Armstrong, and she is a volleyball player at Indiana University, going into her second year. So without further ado, Haley, take it away.
Hey guys, so yeah, like Rashad just said, my name's Haley. I'm currently a sophomore at Indiana University, playing libero for the women's volleyball team, and currently I'm in the Kelly School of Business.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's talk about first why you chose Indiana University.
Yeah, that's a super great question. At a really young age, I knew I wanted to come to the States and play in the NCAA. It was just something that I knew that would push me to, eventually come back and hopefully play for Team Canada one day and help us do really well in the sport. Indiana is a funny story. I was actually verbally committed to another school, Maryland, which is in the same conference. And a large part had to do with the coach. My coach, Steve Baird, if you've ever met him, even if you haven't, he is one of the most passionate people I've ever met, not even just in volleyball and just overall life. And his energy is so contagious. And he made the decision to move to Indiana University, and I knew I had to check it out for myself. And not even just him, but the campus alone I fell in love with. And obviously being a business student, the Kelly School of Business is one of the top business schools in the country. So I knew I was definitely on my radar, and it honestly felt like home when I got here. And I do love Maryland, but I feel like I'm at home with Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds good. How did you actually meet your coach there?
Yeah, so he actually saw me play in Florida. I was with the youth national team, so for Team Canada, and we went to the high performance tournament. It was in, I believe, Fort Lauderdale a few years ago, and I did not know he was there. I didn't see him or anything, but apparently he saw me watch one of my games, and then he ended up finding me elsewhere and contacted me, and through the help of my recruiter at the time, Cara Hill, I was able to set up a time to go visit him in Maryland and then eventually Indiana. And I knew he was someone who could really help me go where I want to go in the sport.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's always good to have a kind of mentor to help you out.
He's the best. His energy is just so contagious, like I said.
Yeah, so applying to Indiana from Ontario, obviously, how did you find that experience? Did it kind of make you
Hmm.
not want to go to the States? Did it make you want to stay in Canada? Or was it was just the only normal thing you knew?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like obviously I care very much about my academics, but I had a very different, I want to say, track than most people, and that's not to undermine Canadian schools because we all know how amazing the education is in Canadian schools. But because of the athletic side, I had a very different route I had to take. And this started in grade 10, almost grade 9. Like I knew I had to start looking at these schools and talking to these coaches at a really young age. Um, so that part was actually the harder part for me was, getting the attention, reaching out to all these schools, hearing back from some of them, not hearing back from some of them, and going with that. And so when I verbally committed, I had help from the school. So I had all of a sudden an academic advisor that was in touch with me, telling me what I had to get completed. The only difference really I had to make for school wise was taking the SAT, which I'm sure everyone has heard of or knows about. We don't have it back home, obviously, in Canada, but that was a math, reading, and writing test along with an essay component that was basically, I remember being 4 to 5 hours just writing in a room. And that is the biggest difference, I would say. And that's what I had to do. But it was never something that was like, oh, I have to take the SAT. I don't want to go to the States because that was never my focus. My focus was I will do everything it takes to make sure I get to where I need to be. And that's obviously here. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially since you had all those offers from schools in different places, it's a lot. I think it's a lot better of an experience and a lot more potential for you to pursue volleyball out there.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, I don't want to undermine it because obviously, if you're passionate about something, I'd say go for it. But it was definitely a roller coaster of emotions. Any athlete wanting to play in Division 1 or Division 2 or wherever post secondary, they would probably agree that, not hearing back from some schools you wish you did, it takes a toll on you mentally that most people don't really go through, I feel like. Um, in the physical, athletic aspect. But it is so worth it in the end. And I'm just super blessed and grateful.
Yeah, and did you find that process kind of difficult in high school, especially going into grade 11 and grade 12, trying to manage all of that, trying to manage where you're going to go, along with completing high school
Yeah.
here and maintaining your grades?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was just so different. So I remember grade 12 last year, everybody is like applying to colleges or sorry, universities. And it was almost like I already found my university. Like that's been done for like a year and a half. Now I have to focus on the SAT. And like I said, like that was something I had to work on an hour or two just each day on top of my schoolwork that most people didn't have to do. On top of that, doing my application letter. And, obviously as an athlete, they really make sure that you get into the school. But, there's just that part of me too that's like, well, I want to do super well on this. And, I want to get into the Kelly School of Business and I will do everything it takes. So that was mentally and physically draining, but it was so worth it in the end. But yeah, it's just funny because like the stress of picking a school that I saw most of my friends go through in end of grade 11, grade 12, I went through that at like 16 years old. It was so different, but I loved it and I was obviously able to support my friends. So super cool, super different, super dope.
Yeah, for sure. Let's kind of take it back even farther. What made you get into volleyball? Why'd you pick volleyball? Did you have any other sports you played that you were good at, or did volleyball just kind of come naturally to you and you were drawn to that and you knew you were good at it?
Yeah. I love this question. And I feel like people don't really ask me this. So there's two sides to it. There's the I'm competitive as hell and I was just born like that and I always try to do my best in everything. And there's also kind of the emotional sappy side where I growing up, I didn't have any siblings, right? So it was just me. And so the only way I think I knew how to fill my time was through sports. So growing up, I would play basketball, soccer. I was a huge swimmer, loved track and field and cross country. And but volleyball was different because I actually didn't like it at first until one of my coaches asked me to come try out for the team. And I was in elementary school, and actually, I am still super close with him to this day. And I credit him and thank him for putting me in the sport because he saw something that I didn't. Um, but yeah, and as soon as I got in the gym, it just felt so natural, and it felt almost like that sibling I was missing, something I could go to, something I could rely on that not only filled my time, but really something I was passionate about and fell in love with. So, yeah, there's definitely the competitive side to that story, but also the like more emotional, sappy side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess everyone has their own experience and their own reasons for choosing a sport, and just kind of sometimes just happens and then it feels right. So that makes
Mhm.
sense. Let's go into now life as a Division 1 student athlete in the Big Ten, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What's it like being a student athlete, your typical day? What are practices like, balancing academics and athletics, just kind of all of that?
So we have an off season and then we have our in season. So in season, obviously, we're playing. I feel like they're two different universes. When we're playing, I'll just give you like a typical day. So we wake up, go to class. till the afternoon, get treatment, get lunch, and head to practice for like the entire afternoon. Go back the next day. We could be practicing, same thing, practice, but now we hop on a flight. So after we're done practicing, we go shower quickly, hop on a flight to, I don't know, Pennsylvania, Penn State, for example. Say we're playing Penn State. Get to the hotel, serve and pass the next morning, play them, go crazy, go stupid, get back on the flight, go home. It's midnight, rinse and repeat. And that was definitely the biggest thing I had to wrap my head around, was there was no time to not go. You were go, go, go every single day, no excuses. Um, and you really rely on your team to be there for you. Living away from home, not being able to see your family, you really have to be close with your team, and coach preaches that, and I love that. And then obviously in the off season, we do the exact same stuff. Instead of traveling, though, we're, conditioning more, lifting more. It's really our time to basically bulk up and get super strong. So by the time season comes next time in the next fall, we'll be ready to go. Um, Academic wise, definitely tough. You have to obviously be super diligent and time manage, but you have help surrounding you 24/7. I have food upstairs to get dinner. I grab it and I go downstairs, and all of a sudden I'm with tutors, I'm with other student athletes who are taking the same courses in our little area, where we get to actually hone in and focus on our schoolwork. And that's super awesome to me. And being a Big Ten student, like it's so surreal because you have all this help, but you're expected to do so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Definitely sounds like it can be overwhelming at first, very something to get used to, and especially being in another country, let alone away from home, takes a lot of toll on your body and your brain and just getting used to it. Before games, let's talk about preparation for games and before tests, because those are both completely different. And
Mhm.
how do you mentally and physically prepare yourself before each game, especially when everything's go, go, go? There's not really time to wind down or settle down and think about things.
Yeah. So obviously there's certain things we have to do. So for example, we have team breakfast. Let's say we're traveling, we're on the road, we're in a hotel, team breakfast. Okay, cool. That's the only thing that's on my mind. Get food in me, feel good, make sure I'm drinking water. That's in the morning time. Then we probably head straight to serve and pass. So serve and pass, I don't know if you're aware with volleyball, but that's really just half an hour, 45 minutes of being in the opposite team's gym, getting reps, getting just kind of loose, and being in a different atmosphere actually plays a huge role. So really mentally looking at the court, looking at the atmosphere around where the bleachers are, where people are going to be, is super important. And so we take that time in the morning to just get settled in. The rest of the day, I do a few things. So I like to watch film. We have film for us 24/7. I like to watch film and look at what I do well, so then I can start, mentally preparing myself and visualizing what I do well that game. I also like to nap. I take a long 2-hour nap,
Yeah.
um, because as especially in my position, I need to have really good eyes on serve receive, digging, and so the more rest I can get, the better my reaction time and my eyesight is going to be. So I take a long nap, wake up, go see Amanda, our athletic trainer, get some treatment on anywhere I need. I'm feeling tight, sore, and honestly, just get super hyped. Before games, we have the music blasting, we're dancing, we are making sure we're in the right mindset to go out there and play super amazing competitors.
Yeah, it's good you guys can relax and dance around and at least get
Yeah.
some rest in before the games, because it probably does get very difficult.
Yes.
So after Indiana, what are you thinking of pursuing? Are you thinking of going straight to work, doing more education? Is there some other passions you want to pursue? Something in volleyball? Do you want to continue playing volleyball?
That's a good question. I can tell you, I know for a fact volleyball will be in my future. I cannot tell you anything else. I know I want to play on Team Canada, play professionally overseas. My thing is I'm just so tired of like not having Team Canada is super, super great. And I want to be a part of the next generation, the next team that wants to go to the Olympics, wants to put Team Canada women's volleyball in the charts. And so that's definitely a long term goal of mine. But I have lots of passions, especially in business. I love just learning from professionals. I love soaking in as much information as I can. And so, who knows, maybe in 5 days or 5 years, I might decide I want to pursue something in business. And so that's always on the table as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And we've talked about that throughout high
Hmm.
school, had a couple good business teachers.
For sure.
So who are some of your biggest influences, inspirations, or supporters that have kind of helped you get to where you are today or who are still helping you now? I know you mentioned your coach. Is there anyone else kind of that you
Yeah.
want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, well, obviously, Mama Armstrong, I miss her. Um, both my parents have just always believed in me. Even like I was 11 years old and saying I'm playing on Team Canada, and I feel like as a parent, you're probably like, oh yeah, like go kid, like,
Yeah.
but like, okay, I believe you, and I think they gave me that confidence at such a young age where I knew that they were serious about it too, and they were going to support me anyway, regardless. And I just got so like thankful. I'm so lucky. I have parents who, at 11 years old, didn't think I had a big head or I was kidding. Like they were like, "I see you work every day in the gym. I believe you can do it. Just keep working at it." And me and my mom have had tough talks, like what my future could look like in volleyball. We've gone through injuries. We've gone through everything together, and she has never told me to stop following my dreams. And I think that's something I will always be thankful for. I also want to give a shout out, obviously, to my coach who got me in the first place to play, Ben White. He was my elementary school coach, and he saw something in me that I didn't, and he pushed me. He pushed me harder when I was 11 than anyone I've ever seen pushed at that age. And again, I respect him totally. And every coach I've had with the Halton Hurricanes, my rep team, has made an impact on me during that year. I'm just going to throw out some names. You're not going to know them. Through Adam Petrie, Mike Ongley, Gabby Jobs, these people, Peter Wong, like these guys have believed in me since day one. And I'm super, super grateful.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have all that support around you, especially from your parents. I mean, yeah, as kids, everyone tells their parents they're going to be this, they're going to be that. And usually it doesn't end up happening, but it's good that you continued working hard. And I'm sure you're not where you fully want to be yet, but hopefully one day you'll end up getting there.
Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress.
Yeah, it's always a work in progress. It seems like even when you get to that end goal, you want to keep going. So
But like
that's
that,
definitely a good thing.
yeah, to me, that's like how it should be. It's like, okay, I made this goal. What's next? What's next? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you keep doing that, you'll never stop. And it's so awesome.
Yeah, and you need that drive to if you want to keep going. If you have that end goal and you reach that end goal and you have nowhere else to go after that, it becomes hard to become what you actually really wanted to be. And I guess just related to current times, how has COVID-19 impacted volleyball and school in general? I know your fall season is canceled, so how is that impacting you guys going forward? Are you still practicing? Are you still having as many practices as you normally would? Still the same kind of training? Just hoping that you'll get back to it when things kind of settle down?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Honestly, this has been very, very hard on my team and me personally. Obviously, anything you want to do in life, whether you're an athlete or not, if you don't have something to pursue or compete in, it just feels like you're repeating the same day over and over. And so we have, since the day we got here back in July to now, we have not stopped. We have been training our butts off, doing two-a-days, lifting, conditioning. So to not have something to fight for that, it's tough. But I'm so proud of my team because we see us in the long term and we realize every single day if we just get 1% better, we're chipping away at it. We're going to be super, super great contenders in the Big Ten and the NCAA. And, we had 8 new girls come in, 8 freshmen. And I can't even imagine moving away from home, during COVID, not having a season, how mentally tough that must be. But I think because of that, we've gone so close together as a team that it's been worth it. Even though we don't have a season and we're just training, training, and training, it has been so worth it because we respect each other so much and we just value the time we have together. Because obviously, like we've all learned, you never know when that last day is going to come where they're going to say you're shut down, go back home. You just never know in these days. So being able to just really be blessed and thankful for each day is almost like a blessing in disguise. I feel like this whole thing has come out of.
Yeah, it's good you guys have each other to kind of keep going, push each other forward, and not really give up until you're told to, because eventually you are going to be back on the court and hopefully better than you were before.
Totally.
So, last question, I guess, because you are a student athlete, do you have one piece of advice that's kind of your best advice for future student athletes?
Yeah, I have like 1,000. um, I think the biggest thing that I have learned is to just trust yourself. There are going to be times, whether you're in your sport or you're in school or just in life, obviously being living away from home, you're just going to totally fall apart, and that is totally okay because you need to learn to trust yourself and understand you will bounce back whether you feel it in the like you are in the moment or not. There is always going to be another opportunity for you to, like I said, bounce back, get better. And so whether you have a tough game, tough practice, tough situation, just know you're going to come out stronger. And I think that's like my biggest piece of advice that I'm still working on to this day too. And I feel like anybody anywhere can really take from that because no matter what you're doing, sometimes you're going to have rough days, but you're always going to bounce back.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, because it's definitely good to take any kind of advice you can. And sometimes you hear advice, but there's so much advice out there, you don't really know what to take. So it's best to take it
Yeah.
from people who are in that situation. And so I think that's a really good piece of advice for anyone looking
Yeah.
to kind of pursue athletics
Yeah,
in university or college.
totally. Like for this is just my perspective, but life is literally a roller coaster and some are high bumps, some are super low, but you always end up back where you started. And so for me, it's like you can go through days or weeks or even months where it's totally crap, but just know that it will get better. And that's also an accountability, a responsibility to let yourself know it'll get better as well, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. I guess we'll kind of wrap it up here. Thanks for coming on. Good luck with training, good luck with practice, and hopefully you guys are able to get back on the court soon. Hopefully this gives you some time at least to focus on academics in the fall and kind of just get ahead there. So I guess it could be kind of a blessing that you're able to focus on that and still train. Unfortunately, you can't compete, but definitely you guys will be back at some point, whether it's early next year or later in the year, hopefully. So thanks for being the first guest, and we'll kind
Yay!
of end it here. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Thank you.
And that wraps up this episode of Sports Biz with Rashad. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed, be sure to check us out on Instagram at Sports Biz with Rashad and support us on all other platforms. I'll catch you guys on the next episode.